We did the, I didn't have to, we had electric milkers. I didn't have to really milk, but I carried milk, the milk machines with milk and emptied them when I was able to, which was fairly young because you grew up strong because you had to carry things around all the time. So we all did chores. Everybody had chores. And my mother also milked. When we got a little older, then we were responsible for making our evening meal, which we called supper. And my sisters and I, we kind of took turns on who made it. But it was mostly leftovers from the noon meal. But we pretty much did that while Mother was finishing milking.
Did you have homework at night?
Not that I recall. We had a lot of time, in the school year school day while they were working with the other students, so I don't really recall having homework.
What major local, national, or world events happened during your childhood?
I do not know. I know Truman was president at some point because I remember, hearing his name. Beyond that, I don't know when that was, but we were not very world wise at all.
Do you know if your school building was used other ways for church or
I think we did polling there. I'm pretty sure. Other than that, not that I ever went to it, but it's possible that they had, some sort of farm meeting or rural electricity was making its way through Iowa at that time. There might have been those types of meetings held in that building.
What was your favorite part of the day?
Recess. No, probably that and reading.
What's your favorite part of country school?
I think that I didn't really recognize it because that's the way it was. It's so much then. But what I loved is that I had the ability to move at my own pace. I never had to wait for anybody, to move on to the next lesson. When I had it, we moved on. And I also could listen all I wanted to, as long as I got my other work done, to the upper classes, which I really love to do too. And so you kind of had, at any one time, I was probably listening to my own material plus at least 2, maybe 3 other classes of material. And you could gather what you were able to gather from that, but I enjoyed that.
Do you have a worst memory?
I don't recall having any really bad experiences in school. I do remember fighting. I had, well, as you know, we were the only girls, but I do remember one time fighting and this had to be in the winter because we were in the basement. We sometimes played in the basement in the winter, and I remember getting right down on the floor and fighting with one of the boys, and the kids all gathering around and do this, do that. Some were for me and some were for him, and I don't know who won, but I'm sure we had a good run for our money because we were tough kids.
Would this have been your classmate, perhaps? Do you
No, I believe it was this boy. We had one child who his family was rented, and they were only there for maybe a half a year. I probably had a crush on him. I don't know, but I think that's who I fought.
What lessons from country schools might we benefit from today?
Well, the thing that I talked about with being able to, we had individualized learning, although of course we didn't call it that. And we also had, moving at your own pace, and we had the ability to see what was ahead, and we could, hold these older students in awe, at what they knew or what they could do, and what I couldn't do yet, but I really wanted to, like say multiplication when I was really only adding, that type of information. So I think it was a great way to go to school, and I think that many a really good student came out of those country schools.
So those are the advantages. Were there
Yeah.
any disadvantages?
Well, probably, there's lots of disadvantages, although I didn't see them then because I was, sheltered, but, of course there were no organized sports. There was no, very limited music and art. Therefore I have, I have no artistic ability, but I also don't have very much rhythm because we never learned rhythm, whereas now the kids, they're always beating in time and they learn about rhythm really early on, and they may not be able to sing any better than me, but they can keep on the beat. And so I think that was probably the biggest shortfall that I felt was music and art.
Could a one-room schoolhouse be successful in today's world?
Well, it does exist, of course, in the Amish communities, and I would say it's successful within their setting. I think for other, and then we have homeschooling, which is kind of a small cosmos of a country school. I know people that have 4 or 5 children, they've homeschooled them all at home, so that would be like a little school, except there's so many more resources. I mean, they take them to the library, they take them on field trips, they go to the museum, they go to plays and art shows, and they have so much more resource than we would have ever had.
Anything else you think we should know about rural schools?
I think I was very lucky to be able to go to rural schools. That's it.
That's it. Thank you very much. This
You're
has
welcome.
really been a good interview. The university appreciates it
Well, you're welcome.
for you sharing.